I have not talked to my guest in 10 years. I have not seen my guest in 10 years. We keep in touch on social media, but if he is the performer, actor, and general showman that I think he is, he's going to get it real fast. So here we go. Blame it all on my roots. Showed up in boots and ruined your black tie affair. The last one to know, the last one to show. I was the last one you thought you'd see there.
My goodness.
Go ahead, Go ahead,
Jimmy.
Trevor.
No,
Go
I'm
ahead.
not going to finish that.
Now.
I can't follow that, Jimmy. Oh, no, sir.
Well, then I'm going to sing the rest, and you're going to sing the chorus with me. And I saw the surprise and the fear in his eyes when I took his glass of champagne. And I tossed at you, said, honey, we may be through, but you'll never hear me complain. Here we go, 'cause I've got friends.
I got friends in low places where the whiskey's
drowns and the beer chases my blues away. And I'll be okay. Oh my God!
You totally caught me off guard with that. You totally caught me off guard with that.
But didn't I tell you I was going to catch you off guard?
You did 100%.
You're killing me, bro. How are you, brother?
I'm doing great, man. Doing great. Summer's here. You know, if you can't be happy in summertime, something's wrong with you.
Yeah, no kidding. Listen, I want to do something different. I want to get your social media stuff out of the way. I want you to put yourself over, tell everybody your stuff, how we get a hold of you in general, and then we're going to get into the interview. I always hate when people have these great interviews and then it ends with their social media stuff. Let's get the social media stuff out of the way, but then let's get down to what's really important. So go ahead.
Right on. I'm on Instagram and Twitter, obviously, at Real T Murdoch. You guys can catch me on there. And then on Facebook, you know, Trevor Murdoch, you can't really miss me. It's got pictures of me, my family. I'm pretty open on social media on what I do and who I am. So don't be afraid to hit me up and come check me out. Feel like a fat guy at a supermarket, you know, come look at me. Come look at me.
Yeah, but you deserve it because you paid your dues. So if you don't mind, and even if you do mind, you sent me a messenger. And I want to talk about it. Remember the message you sent me and I replied to it?
I think so, here recently, yeah.
Yeah, it was about a month ago. So here we go. 9:42 p.m. Then it said, hey, bro, I wanted to take a brief minute to tell you something. I've met a lot of people throughout the years. Very few stood out well enough for me to give a shit about them. I'll always remember our interactions before and after I got to the ring, cracking, joking after shows, or just bullshit about life, etc. I always felt you had my back and I was safe. You're a good dude. I hope to see you down the road. I know this is random, bro. It's just we always want to tell people shit after they pass away, not while they're alive. You came across my news feed, and I just wanted to tell you that. Thanks again, bud. And my reply to you at the time was, you made my day. I was there so fucking long and hardly anybody gave a fuck. Your words are powerful and have real meaning. Thank you very much. What's going on in your life that you would be so kind there for a minute to think of an old friend? We get older, and the business has been good to a lot of you, but it's also a cruel business, and the friends thing is also a question. So what's going on with you? That was such a nice moment. Tell me what's going on and why you did that, and not just because of me, you know?
Jimmy, as we get older, man, you know, your values change and your perspectives change on things. And especially being in the entertainment business, if you're not relevant right then and there, people tend to forget about you. And there's a lot of people that help you get to where you're at. And with WWE being such a huge machine, it's easy to forget so many people that are around you because you see so many different people. And legit, it was one of those things, Jimmy, that you came across my news feed, and I don't know what it was, man. I was thinking about you. I was thinking about literally me always every night throwing my shirt at you or doing something to be an asshole to you every night and you laughing about it. Whereas guys that were taking care of me, most guys that were looking out for my safety would be agitated. You interacted with it and made it fun. You also did things for us that most guys didn't see because we were all focused on getting somewhere or taking a picture for somebody. And I just felt at that moment, man, I was like, you know what, I just want to let him know, because we tend to wait till the end, till somebody's gone, like, damn, I wish I'd have let that guy know how much I loved him. It's just a simple message, man. It didn't take me but 60 seconds to type that up. Just, hey, this is what I want to let you know, man. So maybe you think I'm gay, maybe not. I just want to let you know how I feel, pal. And I think we ought to start doing that a little bit more. You know what I mean? I think we ought to start just expressing that. It's important, man. I like to feel like I did good. I like to feel like somebody was paying attention to me, and I want to let you know where you were at with my career, that you weren't unseen. You weren't forgotten. I seen you there, Jimmy. I see what you was doing. There may be times that I didn't speak it, but I was thankful for it.
Well, thank you. We traveled for 2 years together because you came up, I believe, to WWE in 2005, and I left in 2007. So we were together probably 3 or 4 days a week for 2 years, and that's a lot of time for two dudes from different walks of life, different jobs, same company, to be together. And a lot of that time, you were very successful. You were one of the main tag teams up there.
A lot of people don't understand either, Jimmy. Like, we don't get hey, I'm leaving in 2 weeks, I want to say goodbye to you scenarios with WWE. You were no different than us talent in that aspect. Is one day you've got a job, one day you don't have a job, and you don't have that time to say goodbye to the people that were important to you. You know what I mean? That were good to you, that you just don't have it. It's just gone one day. And a lot of people don't understand that about the business up there.
Do you ever feel that you didn't get a proper chance to say goodbye to Lance?
No. I mean, don't get me wrong. It was extremely unexpected, but we got to work with each other a lot after WWE. If I knew that something was wrong with him physically, obviously I probably would have expressed more to him. He was still my best friend. Even after WWE, we still talked about where we were going, what we were doing, who was interested on my end on booking both of us, and vice versa with him. We still had that interaction.
I never got a chance to say goodbye to Eddie. I was with Eddie for the better part of 4 years, and I'd never been to his grave. It kills me, man. It just kills me. I'll be honest with you. I cry a lot about it, even all these years later. I mean, Eddie's been gone since November 13, 2005. We were not only work buddies, but we were sober buddies, and we got to travel together. And Eddie wasn't my best friend, but he might as well have been my best friend because I loved him and respected him so much, like so many guys in the biz. So I think that action you took by sending that to me was just so important. After that, I think I told somebody on Facebook in a Facebook update that one of the guys reached out to me, and I called us mid-carders, which hopefully you're not offended by. But I was talking about you, and I was talking about me, and I was talking about Rory McAllister and Mike Bucci and Corderis and guys who still talk to each other. Not the guys in the rarefied air like Cena and Taker and Batista and those guys, but guys like us who will take an extra minute to say, hey, how you doing, man? Thanks for the good old days. I really love you, and I really miss you, and I just wanted to know that.
You guys, especially as a wrestler, you work so hard to get up there, and then you're there, and then it literally, nobody understands the process of how fast things go from one day to the next. And it's cool to actually afterwards, things have slowed down. You see people in a real normal setting because, Jimmy, we're not real up there. We're all up there. We're at work. It's a 24/7 hour gig. When we're together, we're doing something for work. It's kind of neat to see everybody in their own personal settings, relaxed again, back to normal lives, living, doing things that make themselves happy. and not just work.
And how much did it pick up for you when you went from being a solid, workman-like, talented, big physical tag team to being the tag team champs overnight? How much did that change things?
For me, it changed everything. I had worked for 8 years to try to get to WWE, and they had looked at me. I think I had 7, 8 tryouts. There were times I came up there when, I don't know if you remember the gimmick where Kane used to come out in the ambulance and Bischoff had them all chained up and shit. And I was one of the security guards for that. And WWE paid not a lick of attention to me. Even though I was a Harley guy, I just sparked no one's interest. And I decided, man, I'm going to go to Japan. That's where I want to be at. I could be a big, thick guy. Big fat. I'm not fat. Then I wasn't a fat guy, but I wasn't jacked up. I wasn't cut up. I was never going to look like a bodybuilder. And I could go to Japan, make my career, and be successful and be happy and be a pro wrestler just like I want to be. So I went over there, and I was in the dojo for 6 months. I lived in Japan for 6 months, doing 500 squats a day, 300 push-ups a day, 3-minute neck raises, 100, 150 bumps a day, having, 5 and 6, 30 and 40-minute matches, not to mention working out and doing everything a young boy does. And I came back, and Harley's like, I've got you a tryout with WWE. And I really didn't give a shit. I was going to make $250 that day, eat some catering, get to hang out with the boys, and be a fan for a minute. So I went there, and I got in my workout gear. I got in the ring, and I seen Benoit out there, and he's doing his 500 squats before each show. And so I started doing some of my Japanese stretches and bridges and stuff like that to get his attention. And sure enough, he came over and started talking to me. I gave him my resume. I told him to train to me, worked where I'd been, Japan, everything. And he left, came back, said he had a match for me. And I went from not giving a shit to now having all the eyes of everybody's attention that I wanted. And I worked Rob Conway that night. Johnny Ace asked me to come back and work with Rene Dupree the next night. And after I had a good match with Rene Dupree, went back in the locker room. Johnny Ace called me into his office, and he offered me a deal right then and there. And 6 weeks later, I'm on the road wrestling tag team champion. You know the schedule, Jimmy, is 5 nights a week if on the wrestling end of it. And if you're doing promotional shit on the other night, it was go, 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 go. I went from working basically 3 nights a week to every day. Home once every 2 weeks for a couple days, and then going again.
Where were you precisely? What city? Where in the city? Where in the arena? And who came up to you and told you that you were about to get the tag team straps? Tell me about that.
We didn't know until the night of. We had heard talks about it, but I came in, I had no idea about the WWE machine at all. So I really relied on Cade. He had been there through developmental, through Memphis. He really knew how things worked. And we had heard certain writers were making comments about it, but Cade told me, he goes, don't feed into that shit. He's like, don't get your hopes up for anyone. You know what I mean? We might just be fed to the machine until we got there that night. And one of the writers, I'll be honest with you, Jimmy, I can't give you exact details because it was just a blur to me. It was Oklahoma. Where were we at in Oklahoma? I can't remember, Jimmy. I'm not sure. I know it was in Oklahoma because it was Unforgiven.
So it was the crap hole downtown, not the real nice place off the highway.
No, it wasn't nice at all.
Yeah,
for me, it was nice because I moved up from the lodges and the halls, the bingo halls. So for me, it was nice, but it wasn't nothing compared to what I got used to afterwards. No, and it was, and I knew, it was one of the writers that came up and told me. But one of the things that kind of stood out was Hurricane was not happy about it, with what they were doing with us. He felt like we should have been put through the paces with some other teams first before we went after them. Because WWE did. They brought us straight for the tag champs, took the belts right off of them, lickety split. It was in 4 weeks. And I understood why he wasn't happy. But he also had to understand that it wasn't us calling the shots. We weren't going to turn it down, but we certainly weren't asking for it either.
How did you find out he wasn't happy?
Well, we got to work with him for the first 3 weeks on house shows. Arn would get there early, so we would get there early and get in the ring with Arn and just work on psychology and be a fan and be a mark, pick the brain of this legend here that's sitting there for free, for nothing. Let's go talk to him and learn from him. And one evening, Arn was working with us on abdominal stretches, and he had me put him in an abdominal stretch, and he goes, "Boys, I'm going to tell you something. It is the stupidest thing when I see people get hip tossed out of an abdominal stretch. It's just fucking stupid. Don't ever let somebody give you a hip toss out of an abdominal stretch." And you know how Arn is. You think you expect this big, gruff voice, but it's just real monotone, soft, Southern, but it's just soft, to the point. Just don't ever let anybody give you a fucking hip toss out of an abdominal stretch. So, sure enough, that night, we're wrestling Hurricane and Rosie, and Hurricane tells me to put him in an abdominal stretch. And I put him in an abdominal stretch, and I'm working him. And he goes, "I'm going to give you a hip toss." And I go, "Fuck no, you're not giving me a hip toss." I'm going to give you a hip toss. He said, "No." I said, "No, motherfucker, you're not giving me a hip toss."
You're having this conversation in the ring.
In the ring, yeah. We're in front of 5,000 people, man, and I'm, "No, motherfucker, I ain't doing fuck to." And, I've got him locked in, and he's getting mad. I just throw him down, boot him in the head, and I go tag Lance. We continue on with the match. Well, the whole match, he's cussing us. And I'm still green to the company, man. You got to think, I've only been there like 3 weeks. So I'm fucking greenhorn when it comes to WWE. I've been in the business almost 8 years, but to the company, I'm green as shit. And we walked through the curtains. A couple minutes later, he comes back through the curtain yelling and screaming at me, "I told you, motherfucker, I want to give you a hip toss out of an abdominal stretch. I'm the veteran in the ring. Who the fuck you think you are? I've been in the business 15 years. My brain just stopped for a minute. I did math, and I was like, "So you were fucking 12 years old when you started wrestling, and you as a professional?" And of course, that didn't help. He got even pissed off even more. You know what I mean? Finally, Arn come around the corner and goes, "I told them motherfuckers not to let nobody fucking hip toss them out of goddamn abdominal stretch. Leave them the fuck alone." And who's going to argue with Arn Anderson? And Shane dropped it right there. But from then on, you could feel the heat, the attitude when it comes to working with the guys. You know what I mean, Jimmy? When someone's not happy, and then you hear from the grapevine from the other guys. That's, like I explained earlier, that they just felt, not they, him, felt that it was just a little early for what they were, putting the belts on.
So that match that you're talking about that night was Hurricane and Rosie against you and Lance?
Yes.
How nuts is that, bro? The two of those guys are gone.
It makes you value what you've done and what you have so much more. For me, when I found out about Cade, in that situation, Jimmy, I mean, it's out of nowhere anyway. But at the time, I had a restaurant, a bar and grill, and I wake up in the morning, and my kitchen manager, who was a kid that I trained, is a very talented cook, but I trained him as a wrestler as well, too. And my wife are sitting at the end of my bed. And at the time, Harley is, still around. I wake up, and they're sitting there, and I go, "What happened to Harley?" And then my wife goes, "It wasn't Harley." And I said, "What happened?" I said, "What's going on?" And they said, "Lance passed away last night." And I thought it was a joke. And that's no shit, Jimmy. I thought it was a bad joke. I was like, "You guys are fucking crazy. Like, quit fucking with me." I'm still half asleep anyway. I look at my phone, and there's a text from HBK. It says, "Call me right now, kid." And, of course, I call him, and I was like, "Sean," I was like, "What is all this shit I hear about Lance passing away?" And he goes, "I'll never forget his words." He goes, "I'm sorry, kid. He's gone." And I'm not afraid to admit, I dropped to my knees right there and I started bawling like a big old baby because, I mean, he was my best friend. My kids called him Uncle Lance. You know, his kids called me Uncle Trevor. We've been to Christmas parties. He lives in Texas. I live in Missouri, DC. You know, understand the travel aspect of that. But that's how close we were as buddies, as friends. We made sure that we were able to go to different, you know, events for each other's families. I knew his mom and dad, his sister, and he knew my mom and dad, all the guys down here at Harley School. He was a member of our family. And when something like that happens, it changed everything, especially my perspective on pro wrestling and what I wanted to do. What was important to me about pro wrestling and what I wanted to accomplish after that. Because you start realizing, all right, yeah, I'm a superstar in pro wrestling. Yeah, I'm a star. Everybody knows my name, but my kids don't know me. And when Lance passed away, Jimmy, that really changed for me, that perspective of who was it more important to be famous for? Strangers or my 3 kids and my wife? Because at the end of the day, man, and you know as well as I do, that's all that matters is family. Family is number one.
This is Jimmy Noonan. My show is Noonan Speaks. We're talking to Trevor Murdoch, WWE Tag Team Champion, generally terrific human being, always had a ball with him on the road. We traveled around the world for 2 years together. Here I am after talking to him for just a little while, finally introducing the show. Jimmy Noonan, Noonan Speaks. We're going to be on weekly, and we're going to be with Trevor for a little while longer. I want to introduce my co-host. He is on Instagram as the WWE Historian, and he's got a question or two for Trevor Murdoch.
Hello, Trevor. How's it going?
I'm good, Larry. How are you, buddy?
Not too bad. I actually met you 9 years ago at CAC at the Gold Coast in Las Vegas. You got the Future Legend Award.
Oh, right on. Yeah, man. That's one of the awards I'm actually really super proud of. Yeah, I got to vote on that. So.
When I was talking to you there, I asked you what your favorite match was. You said it was Judgment Day 2007 against the Hardys. What was it about that match that stuck out to you the most?
Well, if I remember correctly, that was in St. Louis. And for me, that was the biggest local match I could bring home to the people that have seen me wrestle throughout the years. Missouri is my area, is my territory. And I've wrestled in Missouri and Illinois and Kansas and all through this territory since I was 20 years old. I'm 39 now, so 19 years. To wrestle the Hardy Boys for the championship right here in what I considered my hometown, like I said, as close as you can get, it was a big deal for me. Family, friends, everybody, they could see me be the guy that they've been seeing on TV, but see it live. Not to mention, when you get in the ring with the Hardys, man, if you have a bad match, holy crap, you must be the shits. Because those guys are amazing in the ring.
I've only met Lance one time. It was before a house show in Las Vegas in 2007. He was a nice guy to me, and he's been gone for many years, but what would you say to people about Lance Cade? What's your favorite memory about him?
Lance was a super nice guy. You don't get to see the other half of who a person is because on TV we're supposed to be this bad guy, this asshole that come across as this heel. But what you didn't know about Lance is, I mean, the guy was as gentle and as sweet as you possibly could. He was the complete opposite of what his character was. You'd have thought a guy being, 6'4", 290 pounds, 3% body fat would be the most cocky asshole. But he was the complete opposite. Humble, grew up in Iowa, was shy to a certain extent. He was just a good person, man. I could go into the ring and him and I could look each other and go, okay, we know exactly what we're going to do. He was trained by Shawn Michaels, so he had that old school mentality. He had a hard work ethic. His life was cut way too short.
Trevor, you know who he was a lot alike? He was a lot like Dave Bautista in the sense that he was this really big, really muscular, good-looking dude who was unbelievably quiet when he first came up. And sometimes that comes off as arrogant, although you could tell Lance wasn't arrogant at all, but he was just this big, kind, really, really inordinately quiet guy in it. And you would be like, wow, I wonder what's going on over there, because you were more like the joker and the fun guy. But he always had a nice smile on his face. He was just a good guy. Do you think that because you guys were so physically big, you were both about 6'4", 6'5", that you didn't go through some of the hazing and some of the maybe quasi-bullying or anything like that?
I think that might have been part of it. I mean, there were big guys that had to go through hazing. And for me, my first part of it, I didn't really get picked on, but there was a little bit of animosity from guys like Charlie Haas and Shelton Benjamin who didn't know me, that I was a guy that came straight from the independents, didn't have to go through developmental, win the championship, and those guys got abs and in developmental working their ass off to get their spot, and here I come straight off the street, basically. So when we get in the ring, those guys are trying to run me hard, blow me up. But they didn't know I just spent 6 months in the dojo in Japan, the best shape of my life. That was the one thing you couldn't do. You couldn't blow me up. After that, when they realized that, and they realized where I come from and who trained me, then they backed off and we became friends. But other than that, I mean, with Lance being trained by Sean and me being trained by Harley, we were both trained not to take any shit from anybody. It was better to get your ass kicked than let somebody treat you like shit. When we pushed back, people just said, okay, well, they left us alone. It wasn't a big deal. And then nobody really ever gave us a hard time, actually. One time we actually got called up by Triple H to kind of get his back. I don't know if you remember the time Billy and Road Dogg weren't quite getting along with Triple H, and we happened to do a house show in the same town that Billy and Road Dogg were doing a signing. And Triple H had heard that they were going to jump in the ring. Well, Hunter comes up to me and Lance and says, I want you guys to watch my match. And of course, me and Lance chime in two doors. Oh, we watch your match all the time. I mean, come on, man. Come on. Of course we watch. He's like, no, just make sure you watch my match. And if those guys get in the ring, you get in there and you start whooping some ass, boys. Because after a while, Lance and I kind of got the reputation of, where you see one, you see the others. You mess with one, you mess with the other. And that was kind of powerful in that locker room where nobody really gave us shit, hard time or anything like that.
So you mentioned Charlie, Haas, and Shelton, and you mentioned Hurricane. Anybody else try to get really stiff with you? Anybody else try to blow you up? Anybody else try to, quote, take advantage?
Bob Holly.
No. I'm so surprised.
He didn't really, try to take advantage. He tried to move us around a little bit, but, all it took was fighting Bob back, and he had no problem. After that, he didn't give me any trouble, but Bob was rough. Bob old school. I understood that, and once he gave it back to Bob, and he respected you for it. That was the key with Bob. Everybody that complains, Bob's, just beat me up. If you just fight back, Bob would back off, be like, all right, cool, this would be great. Nobody would fight back.
That's the answer.
You just gotta fight back.
I love it. TNA. Tell us about TNA. How did that happen?
I had 2 stints with TNA. I guess you could call me a TNA original because I was on their first, when they were doing pay-per-views, weekly pay-per-views. That's when I started as a stand-up. I had actually gotten, at the time, Jeff Jarrett was running the independents, and Harley had found out that Jeff was starting up TNA and was going to go nationally televised. So Harley, being the smart businessman, books him for a show. and then books him against me to have a tryout match with him. Basically, he brings in the owner of the new company that's starting and books him against a match with me for a tryout match. And I have a great match with Jeff. And at the time, Ron and Don Harris were working with Jeff, and I was friends with Ron and Don, and they were friends with Harley. And afterwards, Ron came up to me and said, "Hey, man, they're going to end up offering you a spot at TNA. And whatever they give you, take it." And I was like, "Well, of course I will. I mean, that'd be my first real big TV appearance." And I got a call a couple of weeks later saying that I was going to be a part of a tag team called the Dups. And my name was going to be Stand Up. And showed up at the fairgrounds there and started wrestling as Stand Up. And I did the first stint, I think I did about 7 weeks of TV. And I ended up getting my first opportunity to go to Japan for 3 weeks for Noah, Pro Wrestling Noah. And I went up, Vince Russo at the time was the head writer there. And I went up and talked to Vince and explained to him what was going on. And he said, "Perfect, man. Thank you for letting me know." He goes, "We can write you out, and then we can set up to write you back in." And that's when Vince came up with the idea of maybe I was scared of midgets. And if you think I was country as Trevor Murdoch, Jimmy, Stand Up had a bad tick, and I mean shake, chew running down the middle of my lips. I had a fascination with fire, and I was scared of midgets. Think about that guy. Right.
That's
there.
Beautiful. Who was your partner?
A guy named Murray Halper. He actually was one of the original Dups that was in ECW. I was just a replacement guy. The Dup character in the Dup tag team was from ECW, and they pulled one of the guys from that tag team, put me with him, and created the new Dups.
So used up and stand up?
Oh, well, it was bowed up and stand up. And we had our manager, our cousin, female, fluffed up, who, as you know what a fluffer does. So the crazy ideas that we had that were presented to me at TNA were crazy at times, but also the freedom of being creative was really open there too. I mean, you could go, "What do you think about this?" And there was no serious rejection of it. You could freely speak there and not feel like you weren't a part of the character, if that makes any sense.
So it was the anti-WWE.
To a certain extent, yeah. I had way more creative freedom with TNA because they were new, upstart, didn't know where they were quite going yet, whereas WWE didn't give me a lot of information at all. They were kind of the opposite end of the spectrum. My first match, I came out in a black vest and a black cowboy hat, and I looked just like Lance, except the fat version. And I get back through the curtain, and Vince goes, "I thought you guys were going to be a trucker and a cowboy." And I said, "Well, shit, that's the first I've heard of it."
Oh, my God.
That's how things were for me. And then the next week, there comes the flannel T-shirt and the ball cap, and I trim up the chops and the beard a little bit and make chops, and there's your trucker. But there wasn't a lot of creative information delivered to me and Lance when we were tagging together.
At TNA, it was just the time of Jeff and Dixie?
No, the first time it was Jeff and his dad, Jerry. The second time it was Jeff and Dixie.
How cool is Jeff Jarrett? I love Jeff Jarrett.
Oh, super nice guy. The man, he gave me my first TV opportunity, took me to India to wrestle for Ring to King over there and do their TV over there. I've got nothing but positive things to say to that guy. And every time I've spoke to him, you hear bad things about certain people. And every time I've interacted with him, he's always been humbled, nice, cracked jokes with me, got along great with him. Nothing but great things to say about that man.
I want great things to happen for him. I got to do some work with him. The people I was working with on this movie years ago, they asked me to bring in some WWE people, and we were in the Nashville area. And because I had a relationship with Karen Jarrett through Kurt years earlier, I called Jeff, and then Jeff went to Karen and said, hey, this guy, Jimmy Noonan's calling me. Do you know him? And she said, Jimmy, Jimmy was the head of WWE. He was so good to us, blah, blah, blah. And I'll tell you what, Jeff Jarrett and Karen Jarrett put me over so big, and I, in turn, put them over big that we all made some money, and we had a great time, and I got to know them. We're in touch all the time. I told them that I was going to watch the Hall of Fame that night when he got inducted, only because he was going in. I don't watch that stuff. I don't watch WrestleMania. I don't watch anything, but because Jeff Jarrett was going into the Hall of Fame, I was going to watch, because I am a Jeff Jarrett fan. I'm a Jeff Jarrett mark. I think the guy is awesome, and I'm crazy about his wife.
Right on.
Right on, baby. WWE historian, what do you got?
Last year, JTG from Crime Time, he did an interview with Hannibal. He said some things that you weren't too fond of. I know one of the reasons why you wanted to do this podcast was to give your rebuttal, so I'm giving you the floor.
You know, those guys were asked about what happened with their first departure with WWE. You got a dead guy who can't defend himself. So it was a little classless, I felt. But they were going out there telling everybody that we were the ones that got them fired, and that we screwed them over in the ring, and that we were in cahoots with the referee. The exact story of what happened was we were the tag team champs. So we were going over that night anyway. And we were going over with our finish, which is the high-low, which looks pretty impressive for two big guys to come across and clean somebody's clock. But we always, when Lance and I would wrestle, we always did a spot. We do a blind tag. I would hit the ropes. Lance would pick a guy up for an inverted atomic drop, and I would hit the big boot, and JTG would roll out of the ring down to the floor. 90% of the time, that would get the sympathetic reaction of people starting to count. 5, 6, 7. Well, I'm the bad guy. I'm the heel. I'm yelling at the referee, count faster, right? That's what bad guys do. Well, JTG, I don't know what was going on. Either he didn't hear it or didn't catch the timing. But we got to 9. He's up on the apron. 10, he rolls under the ring. Well, the referee had already got to 10. And at that time, Vince was on all the referees. And if you count somebody out, you count them out. If their shoulders are down at 3, you count the 1, 2, 3. If not, the referees were getting in trouble. And there's a 10 count on the outside. There's no rolling in at 10. You have to be in before 10. Once he gets to 10, it's over. Well, sure enough, he doesn't get in at time. And the referee calls the match. Ding, 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 ding. I'm standing in the ring. Look over at Lance. Lance looks at me. He goes, what just happened? I go, we just won. And he goes, huh, and just puts up his hands. And we're laughing. And we grab the tag belts. JTG and Chad get in the ring. We walk out. They're standing there looking at us, pissed. We didn't do anything wrong. They're staring at us. They look back at the referee. They look at us. They look back at the referee. They pick up the referee and proceed to pick up a guy who's untrained and hit their finisher on him, which was a combination of a neck breaker, I think, with a Samoan drop. The referee almost broke his arm because he tried to put his hand down, which that's not something any trained wrestler would tell you. Do not put your arm down when you're taking a Samoan drop. We get in the back. Barry Windham comes up, who's the producer at the time, goes, what the hell happened out there? Lance and I both said, he didn't roll in at 10. I was like, he stayed out there too long. And he goes, all right, there's nothing you can do. Well, Crime Time come through. They were pissed. They were mad, yelling and screaming, saying we were in cahoots with the referee. It was our fault. They heard me tell the referee to count faster. That's what they were blaming this shit on. They heard me tell the referee to count faster. And I'm yelling. I go, you motherfucker, I'm a heel. What am I supposed to tell him? Slow down? I'm the bad guy. Well, John Cena proceeds to tell them they need to go apologize to the referee. And they tell them, hey, go fuck off. He doesn't care because the referee was involved with it. How well do you think that went over with WWE and with John Cena?
Yeah.
Honestly, I think if they would have just apologized, if they wouldn't have said what they said to John, I think they may have been upset, but I don't think they would have fired him.
Who's Hannibal?
He's Devin Nicholson. He was the Canadian wrestler that was forced to retire.
So you were going to go over anyway and retain your tag titles, correct?
Yes.
So were they just mad that they didn't get their shit in?
No, I think they were mad because we were only like 5 minutes, 6 minutes into the match, and they got embarrassed.
Okay.
I don't know. We didn't really have great communication after that. This happened at a house show. We went to Raw the next day, and they got let go. They came through, and they shook everybody's hand. They skipped over me and Lance and shook the next guy's hand and shook everybody else's hand in the locker room. We had nothing to do with that. Why would we? Number one, if we're going to go over, don't you think we want to go over the strongest possible way we can, not just from an inverted big boot, which we use for a heat spot every single night? I mean, it's common sense. Any wrestler with any knowledge about the business wants to go over with their finisher. That was my issue on what I wanted to say, because Lance is not around to defend himself, and I got no problem speaking up. And I just think it's shit. JTG even put something in his book, I think, about it. And it's like, man, that's just some shady shit.
Wait a second. JTG wrote a book?
Yeah.
Did it do anything?
I don't know.
I'm sure he's a good guy. He was the little one. I remember Gaspard, the big bodybuilder dude. It's no offense to him. I hope he doesn't get mad if he listens to this, but I don't remember the little guy a whole lot.
There's a huge misconception that everybody thinks we hated to work with those guys, but it was actually completely opposite, because in the beginning, we were super stoked to work with them because they were the complete opposite of us. I mean, we were doing gimmicks on TV where they were stealing our stuff. And we had ideas for going and doing promos where we actually went down to Hood and checked out their place and lived their life a little bit. And how entertaining would have that been? But those guys at the time, it just did not seem like they were focused on any of that. We would be talking about the matches and maybe in the mirror, more focused on getting their shit together than actually sitting down with the two vets that are sitting there with them and put together the match. After a while, you start not giving a shit. All right, you don't care. I don't care. I'm trained old school. I could call it in the ring. I've got no problem going out there in front of 5,000 people not knowing fuck what we're going to do and go out there and create magic. I was trained by Harley Race. That's how I came up in this business. I wasn't trained in the system. I didn't go through developmental. I didn't go through any of that shit. I actually went out of the indies and had to earn my way and earn my spot and wrestle in front of the 3 people to the 500 people to the high schools, the armories. I earned my way, so I'm extremely comfortable going in there and calling it all on the fly. And those guys weren't ready for that.
We used to have a saying at WWE that if you didn't have heat, that you were probably doing something wrong. What's the most heat you had? And do you, after all these years, have any residual heat with anybody?
I don't think we ever had direct heat with anybody except the aforementioned people that we spoke to. We had moments of greatness when it comes to heat. Lance and I got arrested one time in Belfast, Ireland, which wasn't one of our proudest moments, but it was to a certain extent. Jimmy,
tell me more.
Right. Well, I think this was right after you left, and they had a change in staffing when it comes to security at the WWE. But you know the routine, Jimmy. Last night of the tour, everybody goes down to the hotel bar. What's everybody do? They get hammered.
And if I remember correctly, you could tip them back a little bit.
Yes. When I had my moments, yes. I could run up a bill, that's for sure. And that's what we were doing. We were all at the hotel bar, Belfast, Ireland. Me and Lance are sitting in these 4 chairs. I'm sitting across from Arn Anderson. Lance is sitting across from Randy. We're all bullshitting. All the boys are in the lobby. We're mixed in. There's a few fans in there, but everything's casual and cool. This one fan comes up to Randy and asks for an autograph. And me, Lance, and I think Arn kind of took a deep breath. We're like, oh, this could be bad. This could ruin an evening. I love Randy. I think he's a great guy. He's a St. Louis guy, so I love Randy to death. But you know as well as I do, at that time, Randy, he was volatile. But he grabbed the guy's paper, signed it. So here you go, buddy. And the guy said, thank you. And the guy proceeded to ask Randy to sign like 10 more things after that. And Randy's like, no, man, God. I'm here with my friends. I'm just trying to have a good time. And the guy proceeds to just get irate with, oh, you think you're too good? If it wasn't for us fans, you wouldn't have anything, blah, blah. Randy calmly stands up, yells at security, hey, this guy's trying to grab my cock. He's trying to grab my business. Can you get him out of here? Security grabs him, takes him out, and we go back to just bullshitting and having some beverages, just having fun. About 20 minutes later, the same guy comes in again and calmly asks Randy, hey, can you sign this? Randy goes, listen, man, I've already told you once. I'm telling you again, dude, I've already signed something for you. Please leave me alone. I mean, Randy's being nice as hell. He couldn't be any more pleasant with this guy, really. Randy's world champ at the time had hurt his back 3 days before that in a match. And you know how it is overseas. You get hurt, you're already there. We'll work around it. Couldn't bend over to tie his own shoes. And we knew he was in pain. And the guy proceeds to start chewing on Randy again. Who do you think you are? You think you're better than everybody else? So Randy stands up and yells at security and says, hey, remember that guy? This time he got a handful. He actually got it. He grabbed my balls. So security runs over and they tell us that they threw him out of the building. So we go back to, bullshitting, blah, blah, blah. It comes to be about 3 a.m. They're closing up the bar, and it's time for us to head up to our rooms. I think we got about 3 hours, three or 4 hours between we close the bar and when we got to be on the bus. And as we're walking out, Lance and Layla are walking. Behind him is Randy. Behind Randy's me. And we walk into the lobby, and it's the guy that got thrown out but kept bugging Randy for autographs had snuck back in, got behind the help desk. And when Randy walked by, I got up and started charging at Randy. And Randy turned around just in time. He's like, hey, Trevor. And I'm right there. And I just, one punch, boom. I dropped him right there in the hotel lobby. I see another guy coming at me. He's taking off his jacket. I never let his jacket get past his elbows. Boom! Punch him in the nose. What I don't know is that one guy that originally was bothering Randy that I just dropped was part of an Irish wedding reception, and they were all in the lobby. So in about 30 seconds, I'm in a half moon of all these drunk Irishmen starting to take their jackets off to whip my ass.
Oh, my God.
It's one of those moments, I'm like, oh, man, this one's going to be a bad one. This one's going to hurt. Well, like a knight in shining armor, my 290-pound tag team partner turned into an NFL linebacker because after Lance turned around and seen me drop the second guy, Lance started taking off running. When they proceeded to square up on me, he just lowered his shoulder and blasted through those guys, knocked two of them onto their bellies, grabbed me, picked me up, threw me through the hole that he had made between the guys. We run to the elevator, and like a movie scene, me and Lance are in the elevator, and the door's shut, and the Irishmen are running to the door, and it closes just in time where they just get there. So Cade and I are thinking, that was fucking crazy. Let's just go to bed. Well, what we didn't know was, do you remember the other security guard? I think his name was Jimmy as well, too, but he was a black guy.
Jimmy Tillis.
Yes. Well, he was working with another group, I think, at the time, and had gotten this other guy on, who happened to be black, and he was our security guy. And the reason why I bring this up, after I knocked the second guy out, the first guy's getting up onto all four. Well, the other groomsmen and the wedding party are charging after us. The other security guard, the black guy, sees what's going on, and he takes 10 steps, and he punts that first guy right in the face, knocks him clean out. Now, we are in Belfast, Ireland, where they are still currently having religious wars, Catholic and Protestant. And all these Irishmen turn around, and all they see is a black man standing over one of their brethren on the floor. Well, wow. The cops get called. Lance and I get called downstairs. We get put in a paddy wagon. The security guard gets put in a paddy wagon. We go to jail. As we're walking into the jail, they walk the security guard straight to the back, put him in a cell, close the doors, close the big door, and you hear him lock it. They walk Lance and I right into a waiting room, start offering us coffee, and start taking pictures with us.
Oh, my God.
You want to talk about feeling like a big piece of shit? What the fuck? He's with us. Why is this going on? And he ended up getting held for 3 days after that. We got put on the bus back to our hotel within 30 minutes. Gone. We got back to the hotel just in time to load up all our shit and get in the line to get behind everybody to get up on the bus. That's the world we live in right now. Still, it may not be in our world right here directly, but it's on this globe.
Good story. All right, so this is what we're going to do, Trev. I think we're going to go one more time to WWE Historian, who is my producer, and then he's going to wrap up the show, and he's going to ask one more question. I think we got all our stuff in.
All your juicy bits you need? You got all your juicy bits? Yeah, you know, I know you. Come on, Jimmy, now. We need juicy bits for the tour. You need a juicy bit.
You're funny, bro. So you're doing your trucker gimmick. You're not tag team champions yet, but every night you come out and you give me hell. You walk right to me and you're doing your out-of-control trucker thing, and you're screaming at me. You're screaming at the fans. Cade comes out like he's just got a mean face on, but you're like really riling up the crowd, and you're talking and you're moving and you're so big and you're screaming at the fans and you got spit flying out of your mouth. I mean, you're just saying inane shit to piss people off. And then you find me and you're screaming at me. You're just screaming at me, and I'm getting covered in spit. And I'm a big guy, but you're like a head tall. You're a head taller than me, and you're looking down on me, and spit's flying out of your mouth, and I'm like soaking fucking wet, and I'm like guarding my face, and I got a wet shirt. So I'm basically putting you over, and then you get in your ring and you win your match, and I stayed away from you, because you give me a dirty look as you're leaving. And then the next night in the next city, you do the same thing, and more spit's flying out of your mouth. So every night we got this thing where now you're looking for me. Now I don't want to get wet anymore. I don't want any more spit on me. And I'm hiding around the other side of the ring, and you come around, you walk, before you hit the ring, you walk around the other side of the room and say, I know you're hiding from me, and you got spit flying out of your mouth, and I'm getting soaking wet. I was like, oh, my God, this guy is out of his mind. But I'll tell you what, we made a lot of people laugh. We made a lot of people laugh. We had a good old...
Jimmy, that's the moment. That's why they pay for the ticket. That's why that kind of shit is for the guy who is working 40 hours, 60 hours a week, paying quarter of his salary to child support for kids that he can't see, and he's bringing them there for a special event, and he's trying to forget about what's going on at home and all the negative shit, and we take them to a different place for them to relax and live and have fun and interact. And that's what I always enjoyed doing, was interacting with the people. I'm out there getting my ass kicked, and I'm out there to entertain, though, too. And if the fans don't feel like they're a part of it, if they don't feel like they're with it 100% every minute that I'm out there, if they're not involved in it, then I feel like I've cheated them on that ticket price. I've cheated them out of money that they worked hard for, to come and be entertained and forget about all the negative stuff that's going on in the world. And you really let me be creative, and your reactions were negative and they were fun, and it got people's attention and it got people to react. And that's what I wanted to do. I wanted people to react. I wanted them to get out of their seats, get off their hands, quit being so judgmental. I just paid $25. I want to be entertained. All right, but hold on. Well, when you stand next to a guy who's 290 pounds and pretty, man, I got to do something.
Yeah. We had a house show, and I don't know where we were, but we were in either Japan or Seoul, Korea. We were someplace, and I went shopping that afternoon, and I found these big, oversized sunglasses with windshield wipers on it. And you walked out, and I asked Chimmel or Corderis, I said, when he comes at me, I'm going to have my back towards him, and then I'm going to turn around, he's going to be spitting on me, and I'm going to have the sunglasses on with the windshield wipers going. And it worked perfectly. Corderis goes, okay, turn around. And I turn around, and you did a spit take. that I'll never forget because I got you. I got you. And I think I was gone like a month later. Like, I don't remember it happening again. Like, you were getting me every night for so long, I finally got you.
Well, and I probably put the shit over, too. I just probably started screaming even more, putting it over. What the hell is this shit?
Yeah. It was very funny. So I'm going to turn the final question over. No pressure, WWE historian, but we're only going to close the show on your question. So it better be a fucking good one.
I understand you had owned a restaurant for a couple years. What was that like?
Actually, it was great because I quit drinking, so I thought it was going to be the best business. I'm not going to mess with any of my product. I had just gotten off my run really with WWE. I live in a small town, and it was a good business. It got me where I could interact with the town and not be in my underwear and get my ass kicked. I could talk to them on a normal level. And I did that for about 3 years. And after a while, you think you don't have weekends when you're a wrestler. You really don't have weekends when you own a bar. And after a while, I had somebody that was interested in buying my place. And I was like, this is my offer. And he goes, I'll take it. And he took it right off my hands. I didn't lose any money, made a little bit. But that was my stint as a bar owner.
Very cool.
What are you doing now?
What am I doing now? Actually, I'm working with a countertop wholesale company with granite countertops. I'm the most normal guy. I'm the assistant ball coach to my son's baseball team. I've got a daughter, so we're trying to figure out what she's going to do for the summer. I've got a 12-year-old little boy, and I have a 1.5-year little boy. So I've got the most normal of normal lives, man. I'm taking care of babies, being a husband, working a 40-hour gig, and wrestling on the weekends. The great thing about that is I get to go where I want to go. I get to do what I want to do in the ring. There's no one going to tell me what I'm going to do in the ring if I don't want to do it. And actually, I've got hooked up with a really good company out of Oklahoma, Imperial Wrestling Revolution. They're working with the Von Erichs. We're doing our first TV event May 19th in El Dorado, Arkansas. I work with a lot of young guys, trying to help get them to the next step and give them the opportunity. Because, Jimmy, I got my job quick out of nowhere, and I lost my job quick out of nowhere. It happens like a blink of an eye. And I want to make sure that the other guys around me at least get their opportunity to try to shine. And that's what my job as a vet in the locker room now is. I try to make everybody else look $1 million and help them have better matches. It's my enjoyment when it comes to pro wrestling now.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Imperial Wrestling Revolution, Trevor Murdoch, Jimmy Noonan, WWE historian. I can't thank you enough, bro. I need you to know that you're one of the good guys. You will always be one of the good guys. I'm thrilled that this has a happy ending and that your life is only going to go onward and upward from here, and that you're able to share your gift and your craft with people still and give back what Harley did for you. Give back, which was so lovingly given to you from one of the greats, Harley Race. And maybe one of these kids will be a tag team champion someday. I'm thrilled for you. I'm happy to have had you as a guest. I look forward to talking in the future, and I love you, brother, and I'm so happy that you were my first official guest on Noonan Speaks.
Oh, well, I appreciate you having me, Jimmy. You've always been a good friend in the land of make-believe and phony stuff. You're always really real with me, man, and that meant the world to me. So I appreciate you always being a pal, and thank you for having me on. I'm extremely honored to be your first guest on your podcast here, brother. And I wish you all the success and hope you get everything you deserve, brother, because you're a good man. You're one of the good ones, Jimmy. Thank you for having me, brother. I love you, man.
I love you, brother. God bless. There you have it, folks. Noonan Speaks. We'll be on next week with another guest, maybe a WWE superstar, maybe a WCW superstar, maybe somebody from the Attitude Era, maybe not. Maybe a diva. Ooh, Diva Dirt. Are you listening? Maybe we'll have a beautiful diva on. But again, thanks, everybody. Thanks, WWE historian. And from New York City, Good night, folks. Take care. Jimmy Noonan, as my buddy RVD would say, peace.